Yep, here we go. We're live.
Let's go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Electric Jesus, Not Jesus, live edition. Today we are going to be doing Genesis chapter 9 through 23. We didn't finish last week, so we're just going to kick up where we left off from last week. And side note, some of you are wondering, yes, me and my sons are the ones that edit the videos, putting all the pictures in and everything.
Don't forget.
And that was our kangaroo just jumping off. And we know that we purposely don't edit Terry in his reading because we want to have it. We want to have it authentic looking, showing that these names aren't easy, these words aren't easy, you're gonna fumble, you're just an everyday guy trying to read the Bible. So we purposely don't edit that so that you don't see the stop, go, stop, like the chopping in. There's one video, I believe it's our second video, that you can see that there is an edit, and that's only because as soon as Terry was done reading, he hit stop instead of reading the script that goes after it. And I was just like, you didn't read script. So we had to re-record and starting at the script. So that's the only edit. If you've noticed that edit, that's the only edit that we've done. Never cut off his name or cut off what he's saying or anything like that. Never reread. Yeah, don't cut the stumbles. We go in and do it as it is. So that's the explanation on that. As some of y'all wonders why we don't edit that. Like, well, your editing is awful. No, we were doing that on purpose. So anyways, Terry's playing with the computer.
I'm just the link we did, the live link we did, somehow it just sat there and spended it and whatnot.
Yeah, that's why we're late.
We're changing we're changing the links in these ads here so people will know and they can come and join us. So the whole point of this is to get as many people as we can involved to understand, because so many people have been disillusioned by churches, and we're not that. We're not a church. We're not tax-free. Everything you donate to us.
Oh yes, and we have other
goes to us.
Yeah, we have other groups. We're on Facebook at L Jesus.
Like
we couldn't
ELE and then space Jesus, not Jesus, all one word.
So that's what the Facebook is. We also have a Patreon account. I don't think we've put anything on it yet. Eventually, I will be making some Bible covers and some little books. Just each book sold separately as we read it. And if you want to read along, I just have to get the proper paper. So I haven't started doing that yet. And so we will be selling some things on Patreon coming soon. What else are we on? Rumble. Have you done anything on Rumble yet?
No, I can't figure out their licensing.
Okay, so Rumble is in the making.
If anybody knows how to explain the licensing situation through Rumble, I would appreciate it.
We're also are you TikTok yet?
Yeah, but you've got to divide the videos up. So
all of these will be coming soon. We're just still figuring out how to do everything. As of right now, all we're doing is sharing what we've done, just the YouTube videos on all of these things. We're also on Instagram, Electric Jesus, Not Jesus. Andy again. Nope, he's trying to get around behind you. And like I said, as of right now, it's just sharing the videos on here and just trying to spread the word. But eventually we will have other little posts and things like that. We just haven't gotten there yet.
We're only a couple of weeks old, so we're learning.
Yeah.
We're learning.
Dundee, you want some coffee?
He's harassing me. He's a harasser. All right, let's get to it. Let me give him some coffee. And
we're starting at the Tower of Babel.
No, we were chapter 9 is.
You skipped the Tower of Babel because that's when we stopped last time.
Oh, were we at the Tower of Babel? So we made it through chapter. We were done with Noah and the flood. Okay.
Gluttonous, rude.
yeah, we did the flood, and then chapter 9 is when God blesses Noah. And the generations of Noah. We did the generations of Noah.
Ooh.
The generations of Noah. We're on the Tower of Babel.
Okay. So then chapter 11. Okay, so
Remember, Dad, we're not reading through the Bible. We're just.
All right. So in the Tower of Babel, it talks about how at that time all the world was one and all the people had one language. Now, after reading this, or during reading this, I kind of thought about there's a bridge there between the thought, like when you look at a globe and you see all of those little pieces like they Jenga together perfectly. I thought about the Tower of Babel, like, so it was all one area. And in that one area, you know, they all got together, they all spoke one language, and they decided, hey, we're going to prove that we're godlike, right? We're our own gods. And they built this, they made the brick, they said they fired brick, they made it, and they got pretty good, pretty high, pretty quick. And God came down and he was like, no, that's not what I have you here for. It's not to try to beat me. And so he destroyed the tower, or he had angels destroy it, and he separated man. And to me, it seems like because he created this mud ball, that he just, like clay, he just put them on different areas. He isolated them, and then he separated their tongues, told them they couldn't hear each other. So instantly they were not allowed to speak to each other, and in their individual tribes and bloodlines. So that's like where he created, you know, you say Bavarian as opposed to the Picts, which were the Germanic-like language before it became English, the Latins, the Africans, or as they like to call themselves, Afrikaners. You know, everybody boogied down to South Africa. Everybody boogied over to North America. Everybody boogied to Mexico. Everybody boogied to South America. You get the point. And he just kind of moved it and separated it apart. And then when you look at other religions and you bring them in, they all talk about their gods speaking to their leaders through either lightning or fire or thunder. Lightning, thunder, fire. Those are the top three of all gods for peoples who had never met. So if you take away all the fluff and the banter and you look at things, you say, well, if this guy that's, 15,000 miles away has the same way that his God speaks to him, and God says, I will come to you in my own way, in a way that you will understand me. So if he goes to people that he created and are white, it's going to be a white God. If he goes down and he sees, like in Africa, their number one God is called Chango. He's a voodoo god, and he speaks, or what they see as voodoo, and he speaks through fire pits. So, you go around the world, it's the same thing. They worship gods of the sun. And so, because that's when they speak to them, when they're the highest on their temples. So when you look at those things, it makes you wonder, is that the after effect of the Tower of Babel? And that's where I kind of believe. And I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. Who knows? That's the point of this. Until I get to stand before God and ask him, I don't think I'll ever have that answer. But this is the way that I look at it. Because it would make sense on why the earth looks so, Jenga or puzzle piece so well. And it would make a sense.
Threw it on the ground.
Yeah. Well, he's just mad. He walks up to the puzzle on the last piece and slaps it off. But it makes sense on why, to me, who tries to apply linear logic. If there's A and there's C, then there's a B. That this would be the thing that makes sense. And, again, these people are thousands on the opposite side of the planet, and they have the basic same tenets of, do good, don't cheat on your spouse, kind of thing. I mean, all these were the have them all these
don't
things
be a
talk.
Cannibal.
Yeah, don't eat people. Don't take another. Don't take another man's possessions, that kind of thing, right? So that's just where I get it, guys.
Oh. All these people.
Oh Lord. Don't listen to that one.
Oh.
That one's he's gonna be a glacier glider. That's what AK Nation calls white people glacier gliders. I love it. The glacier gliders and the sun people all have the same basic tenets of belief. So you take out the old bantering about colonialism. It's not something we gave them. It's something they had long before we got there. And I just think that there's more that binds us with God than tears us apart.
Whoop, you made it past you.
You know, we can look at it any way we choose to, and that's really how the religion aspect of any religion works. Is you read it how you choose to, maybe not how it was intended. You know, it's like I said, if we find something that's counter to what the popular belief is, we're not doing that on purpose. We're just reading the book, so to give it more authenticity. We're not preaching to you because we are the first ones to tell you we simply just do not know. So,
just want to check 10, right?
yeah, that would move us. That's 11. It's the Tower of Babel. Chapter 10.
Also, it's kind of cool, and I'm sure that's where we got it from. But you know, like whenever you don't understand someone, you call it they're babbling.
Yeah, yes, that's where the term babbling comes in. So I'm going to read these 3 things real quick because this is
Sorry about that.
supposedly where God promises Abraham that Christ will be on the earth. And this is all the way back in the book of Genesis. So it says, now the Lord had said, 12, had said unto Abram, before he changed his name, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee great nations, and I will bless thee, and I will make thee a great name, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that blesseth thee, and I will curse them that curseth thee, and thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So what I get from that is he's saying that he's going to eventually send one out of his seed that will bless the whole earth, not just Abraham in one covenant, right? It'll be the final covenant with man. So that's all the way back in, Genesis 12. So that's mind blowing. Like I didn't remember any of this stuff. Like this has been such an eye-opening experience for my family and myself. We do a thing here. So we do a dry reading where I'll read the 2 chapters we're going to do and time it. We'll set up the lighting and stuff like I'm going to record. And then we'll call the boys in after they set it all up. And then so that they know how the system works. And then we'll come in and they'll sit over there with their notepads and they'll write notes as I read the actual text for the video. And Jamie's taking notes on words that we should be looking up.
Those are my notes.
Yeah, words we should be looking up because they confuse us. Maybe they would confuse someone else. And so that's where you get the pictures and stuff in the video.
And some of them we do know, but
yeah,
we think that somebody might have trouble.
Yeah, just somebody that's coming into this for the first time, they might, never heard the word before because these words aren't used anymore, and so it's like, so I'm like, well, somebody might not know this if it's just a like shoe, SHEW. I put that one in. Like, Terry just read it. And it's like I put that definition in, just because, it's like it's like. It's the old. I mean, if you're reading along, it means show. It's like to show you something, but it's like, but it's spelled differently. It's just an old spelling of a word that we use every day.
Yeah. So it's like when you look at the language, then people try to change the meaning of parts of the Bible by using language now and what it means as opposed to
what it
meant then. So like blasphemy, if I were to say the word God damn it, didn't exist. Those words didn't exist in the Bible back then. When you were saying damn someone to hell, you were literally cursing them to hell. So the when it was saying blasphemy, it was to say that I know, because blasphemy was to say you know something and you reject it. So to say that you know the Lord exists and then you reject him, that's blasphemy. And then cursing back then, if you have to go back and look, at the evolution of the word, because it matters. The word curse meant you literally, cut blood or sacrifice something on an altar or burn something and made a pact and curse someone. So that's cursing, not you running around with a dirty tongue, because I curse like a sailor. I was a grunt for many, many years in the airborne community. So we have a morose sense of humor, and we're very boisterous. So don't let that turn you away from God, that you're not this perfect being. It specifically says that, even you read about Abraham, he was not perfect whatsoever. And we're going to get into that. Anyway, I just thought you guys should know that. That's how the bread is made. The boys are very involved. My wife's very involved. She sits right beside me while I'm doing it, taking notes. I'm just really the least needed part of this. Could actually be just a sock puppet on someone's hand.
He's the talent.
But where's the hand coming
He's
from?
the face.
Huh?
Where's the hand coming from?
The hand.
So back in these days, this is the first time, and it's funny, I'm going to use humor here, but Abraham has a grift. Abraham and back then her name was Sarai, were brother and sister, different mothers, same father, and his wife, Sarah. And so every time they went into a new land, he would tell them, pray, hey, don't tell these people you're my wife because you're very beautiful. And evidently back in the day, there was a fear that if you had a beautiful wife, you'd be killed and your wife was taken. Happens today in Afghanistan, happens today in Iraq. It still happens today in the Middle East. So it's been a thing for a hot minute.
It's like, don't,
just happened the other day. They went in and killed a bunch of Afghani husbands, took their wives and married them. The Taliban did in the same day. And they're not allowed to cry. So anyway.
You'll lose your husband that you love and marry the other one, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, they're all planned marriages anyway. I don't know how much love is there. But anyway. So Sarai was taken by the Pharaoh. Well, immediately God steps in and is like, I didn't give Sarai to you, Pharaoh. I gave him to Abram. This is before he was Abraham. And these frogs and plagues hit the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh's like, hey, man, WTF, why? I didn't do anything. She said she was not married. And God's like, okay, you're right. You didn't do this. He's like, give her back. So then he gets like all of these servants. He gets all of these men servants.
He's like, take your wife. Please take these servants. Take these.
Here's silver. Here's sheep. Here's cattle. And get the hell out of Egypt.
Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's like, go. You got to get on.
Abram's walking out like, yeah.
And he gets his wife back. Who knows? Later in the book, she's not the greatest person. So he might have been like, keep her. I'll take the goats. You keep the wife. Deal. Shake on it. God's like, no, I have a plan. You're messing with the plan. So this is at the point in the Bible, when you get to 13, that Lot and Abram decide to go their separate ways. And so Lot heads down into the valley while Abraham stays kind of in the mountain range. And Lot goes to Sodom and Gomorrah to set up shop. And they divide their wealth evenly because, even though he had a grift, when it came to his family, he was very amicable, and he wanted to be fair with them. So, and he did love Lot as if Lot was his brother, even though it was his brother's son. So Lot goes to Sodom and Gomorrah, moreover Sodom side, and then that's where God goes to Abram, and he tells them, he says, and the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up thou thine eyes and look at the place where thou art northward, southward, eastward, and westward. So where he was standing, he's given him his boundaries for his land. And he said, for all the land which thou seest, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed forever. So now, in the Quran and the Torah, all of the religious books that deal with the Abrahamic religions, where there's all this fighting in the Middle East, God gives this land, even in Islam, you'll see when I read the Quran, is the Jews. and only the Jews. And it's larger than what Israel is now. It's by like 3 times larger. So he says, for all the land which thou seest, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. And if a man can number the dust of the earth, then the seed also be numbered. Arise and walk through the length of it and the breadth of it, and I will give it. And then Abraham removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plains of Mamre, and which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. So he goes out and further on in these other chapters, he kind of goes out and he roams around down into Egypt. He goes all of these places where there's strife. And it seems like to me, it doesn't really go into it, but it seems like to me, because when he leaves, the strife is over, that he's trying to fix these areas and gather the poor and the kicked out and the people who don't have a home, who are God's people, and bring them under his tent, which doesn't necessarily mean they're in his tent with him, but you understand the greater tent, like when we say the umbrella now, we use the term the umbrella, but it used to be called under my tent. So I tell people that I've served with and people that we've met and we care about, that there will always be bread on the table and wine in the glass or water in the glass, and a warm hearth to warm your feet and bones by, and a bed to sleep in. It may not be the most comfortable bed, but you will never sleep in the rain. And we mean that, and we've done it for people without fail. I'm talking about whole families, because we love them, and if you love someone or something, you should take care of it, even if it costs you money, time, and energy, because that's all we're here for, is to be good to one another, in my opinion. And it's coming from a guy who's done his share of bad in this world. So that's what it's saying. It's like your tent. Bring them into your tent. And I advise you, some of you got hunting buddies that you've known your whole life, that if their house burned down, you'd move everybody in his house into your house, just because you love that person. So I'd kind of say maybe we should do that a little bit more and a little less of the I hate you for, and give the reasons why you hate them, and do I love you more, and figure out reasons why you love them.
Now, caveat, it's like, yes, help your neighbors, help the ones you love, but don't just invite complete strangers into your home that need help, because that could go wrong real fast.
Yeah.
So we're not saying, just take anybody off the streets that needs help. If they need help, but also be smart about it. Don't put yourself in danger.
You're definitely in a different world.
Like, we're all laughing about like this stranger, we help a stranger until he falls on bed.
Exactly.
It happens all the time.
Exactly. I mean, we want to do good and we want to help people, but you also have to be smart about it, because there are bad people that need help also, and they look to take advantage of people's goodness. So, so don't blame us if you take in a bad person. We're not saying just take in anybody.
Yeah. We're just talking about, people that, So anyway, so there was a battle of 4 kings in 14 against the 5 kings. So it was a division of the lands of God. And it's a whole lot of names that are very hard to produce. But the end of it, the crux of 14 is, this is where Abraham secures his position, and all the nations realize he is a holy man that has made a pact with God. And that God smiles on the house of Abraham. And
Are you going to talk about the old guys that went blind?
Not there yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
They both got smited.
so this is where Abraham takes his people, and from all of the kingdoms, the kings are giving the people that want to go, and they take Abraham with them. And they steal, these kings at the last battle take Lot and all of his wealth with them. And then Abraham says, all right, kings, let's go. And the king's like, we're kind of done with this. And so Abraham takes 300 of his warrior manservants, and they go in and they lay siege to 4 kings or 5 kings, and just with the help of God, just destroy them and take all of Lot's possessions back. Nothing from what the kings owned, but just Lot's possessions, and bring them back. And then they tell this other king that they come before, they're like, we took only what was ours, not even a shoelace more from the other people. And so to show that they were honest people. And then God hops down and says to Abraham, he said, After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram. I am thy shield and thy exceedingly great reward. So he tells him, hey, you did good. You're keeping up with your end. I'm going to keep up with my end. And that, he sees this covenant as being a good thing.
Who's this Abraham guy?
Abram, I'm sorry, before he changed his name. So then Abram tells God, he's like, hey, in 15, I don't have a kid, an heir. I have Lot, but he's my blood, but not of my blood. He's not my child. He's not from my bowels, is what he says. So then the Lord reiterates to him, hey, I've promised you the land of Canaan, or what is, Israel. And I've promised you, that your seed will multiply. You've got to have faith. It's not time yet, kind of thing. So he's telling him to pump his brakes. He does a sacrifice in there between 15 and 16 and another deal with the Lord. All right, so here's the boundaries of his land.
In what chapter?
This is chapter 15, verse 18. No, I'll go 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And in the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river unto the great river of the river Euphrates, the Canaanites and the Kenzites and the Canaanites, and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaites. When we put up, if you watch, we put up a map that shows you where all these areas are. And the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Gigashites, Gigrashites, and the Jebusites. So who know that the Jebush was out there with some people running around going, Donald Trump is me.
But yeah, so you have the River of Egypt, and then the River of the Euphrates. So it's like if you look at the map, which I pulled up a map, but it's like you go down those two rivers, and the thing. I mean, it's huge.
It's huge.
It's it's like compared to what Israel is now, which is a tiny little blip in all of that space. I mean, it's a lot of land that was given and taken away.
That you would think that the Arabs would learn, but they've never beaten when they had 7 armies against Israel in the 70s or late 60s. They were unable to beat Israel. So you would think that they would just learn that maybe what the Quran says and maybe what the Bible says is, and maybe what the Torah says is exactly the truth. That land is Israelites, and God is going to protect them. Now, I'm not a betting man, but I wouldn't bet on being able to push the Jews into the ocean. I don't know. So in Genesis 16 is where Sarai, which becomes Sarah, gives being barren. She does a sweet thing. So sweet. She gives her handmaid Hagar, which is supposedly, they describe her as an exceedingly beautiful Egyptian woman, to Abraham to bear a child of his loins, because Sarai was the one who could not bear children. So Abraham lay with her. They had a child, and then
then Sarah immediately gets mad about it.
Yeah, like she has a child, and her let's see.
It's not Sarah yet.
Sarai. Yeah.
God was like, your names are stupid. Let me make it simple. Sarah, Abraham. Stupid idiot.
So then she comes and complains. She's like, I don't like the fact you slept with that exceedingly beautiful woman. So she's got to go with her child. Abraham's like, or before she had the child, she's pregnant. And Abraham's like, okay, kick her out. I'm like, your handmaid, you approved this. So a little grift was happening here.
This was your idea. So
and they booted her out. and then she ran. She ran out into the wilderness. And then it
So
says, and then the
fair.
angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, sorry it's made. Whence camest thou? And whitherest wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress, sorry. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, and it shall not be numbered or multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and thou shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild, and this is the lineage of Islam. This is what it says. And he will be a wild man. His hands will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord and spake unto her, Thou, God, seest me, for she said, and I also here looked after him that seeth me. And wherever the well was called Bir Lahanor, behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. So she ran off after doing what she was told to do as a slave. I would imagine, got switched pretty good. And then she ran off like, I'm getting beat for I did what I was told. And then the angel's like, we got plans. Plans. You guys are messing up our plans. And the angel of the Lord sends her back and
take your beatings.
Yeah, the God's
deal
like,
with it. We have a plan.
We know we're going to give you a kid, and he's going to be a crazy little a-hole. But we need that for the big war finance movement that's going to happen later in the world.
What?
The turmoil. Joking, but I mean, that's essentially what happened. If they would have just stayed out of it.
Hands.
Yeah. So she went back. She submitted herself, and God was told. Abram was told, "Hey, you got to take her back. You don't get a choice in this." He submitted to the Lord's will and took her back. She had the kid.
It's like, oh, darn.
Yeah, it was his first kid. And that caused, what I can gather from the Bible, it doesn't say it, but if you read into it, between her actions towards Hagar and then later in the book when we get to it, there was animosity the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, when it's like, and she even mentions that, it's like when she heard God promise that they will have a child, she was even like, we don't lay anymore. How are we gonna have a child? So it's like she's cut it off. She's like, oh, you cheated on me even though I told you to. We're cut off.
A woman.
Bipolar sounds like.
A woman.
Just any woman.
She's like, here, lay with this woman and have a kid. Why did you do that? It was a test.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cheat on my
He
man.
was tested by the woman and he failed.
What are you gonna say?
That's it.
Oh.
Did you not pick up on my hints?
So at 17, God renews a covenant with Abram, when he was 90 years old. And the Lord appeared to Abram, and he said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me, and be thou perfect. So he's saying, as long as you're doing what I tell you to do and following in our pact, this pact that we're making now, that you're going to be protected, forever. And he's 90 at this point. Now, this is after, if you remember going back to like Methuselah and them, these guys were living 900 years. And then slowly it started tapering down to where now they're living about 170, 180 years is their lifespan. Yeah. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of the many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make the nations of these, and kings shall come out of thee. King David, there's a whole list of Abrahamic kings that came out of the lineage of Abraham.
He's very
Great
fishy.
kings. And there were also some bad kings, but on the whole, most of them were, they tried to do good to their people.
You always have that one guy.
Yeah. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and these in thy seed, and thee and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. That's the whole part of, he's saying for all your generations. So the covenant that he made ostensibly should be to that present day, if you are of the tribe of Abraham, or the seed of Abraham, right? What are you laughing at?
I showed him that he didn't want it and he wanted it.
Let's see. You just keep saying the same thing. Keep thy seed. Keep thy seed.
Maybe he's trying to, like, how school makes you learn the same thing over and over.
3 times. Let's see. So this is how Sarai's name was changed. It's in the same thing. It's 17, chapter 17, verse 15. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai anymore, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and I will give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. And then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife will bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant, everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and he will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. So now, to me, and again, this is just me, that's where the 12 nations of Abraham come out of. Could be wrong, but that's the 12 nations. And people often say that those 12 nations are where Ishmael is the other nation. There are actually 13 nations, and the 13th nation is the Islam, the branch that becomes Islam. So that makes sense, because they were all essentially Jews at the time, even the tribes that were, Islamic. And they don't know that. Like when I was in the Middle East and I would talk to them, like, you guys are descendants of Jews. They're the same bloodline. And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, yes. Who is the father of, Isaac and Ishmael? He was a Jew. He was the Jewiest of Jews. He was the Jew supreme. He's the one that God made all the covenants with. He was the big guy, the kahuna. If your bloodline's from him, you are of him, which means you're of Jews. And it's a shock to them because they've never been taught that, ever. Well, they don't get taught lineage other than just kind of to Muhammad. So anyway, that's where Sarah's name was changed by God. And a promise then was made that she would be made a mama of nations, yeah, and specifically 12 nations. So, that's something that wasn't promised to Abraham. Yeah, no. And then we get to the, I feel like tap should be played, but we get to the to the part of Abraham and Ishmael. It says, and Abraham took Ishmael his son, and were all born in his house, and all that were brought with his memory or his money, every male among men Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day. And God had said unto him, and Abraham was 90 years old and 9, and when he circumcised the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the selfsame day, Abraham circumcised and Ishmael his son. And all the men in his house, born in the house and bought with the money of the stranger, were circumcised with him.
I know that I'm kind of interrupting, but I just had a thought. You think Adam and Eve were, because most of, Noah was probably Arabic looking. Do you think Adam and Eve were Arabic?
They don't know.
I mean, no,
No. He was those are the only ones created in the image of God. Those and the first men that have talks about kind of outside of the Garden of Eden. So I don't know. That's
but,
a good question.
It would make sense because of the region, but I mean,
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
yeah,
You know,
it's like
Yeah, I don't know.
because
That's a good
above
question.
them,
Yeah.
right above them would be Greece as well.
Well, yeah, but they at the Tower of Babel, every man was changed, not just his
True.
tongue.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, and everybody's like, "Oh, you couldn't have a blonde Jesus." Well, that's not true because the Greeks had long since conquered that area. The Mesopotamians had come through. I mean, there have been so many armies that went through. It's very possible that he could have been blonde hair and blood. He could have been black. He could have been, Asian, Chinese. I mean, there are so many variations he could have been. We don't know, and that's where the only thing we go by with his look. It's the Shroud of Turin, which is supposed to be the shroud that he was buried in, has an imprint of the face. And that's what Michelangelo, when he painted the pictures of Jesus you see, he based it off of. They showed him, the popes did, which he hated the popes, showed him the Shroud of Turin, and he was like, that's the best thing he could get from it. And he was the best guy at the time that could capture what essentially would have been a photograph today. So.
Right.
who knows?
Yeah, so that's the whole point of this. Is like,
came across in a thought, like, what if they were, everybody, when you think of Adam and Eve, I kind of think of, like, maybe some brown hair or something, white, but in the area that he was in, he could have been Arabic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would make sense.
Yeah.
But anyways, the circumcision, getting back to pulling it back in. Yeah,
I'm just looking at
I'm a
Chat post?
F in the chat for
the foreskin.
Yeah, the foreskin of 90-year-old men having to cut their penis.
Yeah, I got an. Well, never mind. It's bad. Something you definitely want to do as a child if you're going to do it.
Yeah, the older you get, the harder surgery is, and there's no going to sleep for that. It's just like
All I just do is have to like suffocate, just fall over. No, you all just have to like get chopped off. Like, is it over?
And
Yeah.
what if did they use blades or did they use their teeth?
Teeth at first.
Ugh.
That's if you ever watch a Jewish circumcision, you're like.
But I thought my cartoon was funny that I put the picture that I put with that.
Yes, it was.
The boys said that I was a boomer.
It
It got me.
It was funny.
Can we
I
move
have to say,
forward?
Our style.
Hey,
is
let's move
boomer.
forward. All right. Chapter 18 is where the three angels, or it's two angels, and the Lord show up at Abraham's tent, and they're like, "Hey, guy." But this is the way it says, "Lord," and the Lord appeared unto him at the plains of Merimee, and he sat in his tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowing himself towards the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts after you pass. And then he runs in, gets his wife to make him a bunch of bread.
Fruit bread.
Yeah, foot bread. And some water, and he brings it out to them, and he washes their feet. And, he's like, hey, guys, what's going on? And they're like, hey, man, we're about to go down and just wipe out these idiots in Sodom and Gomorrah because, they're sleeping with cats, dogs, and men on me. This is the first thing where he talks about the debauchery. They're men sleeping with men and women sleeping with women. And
where does it say that?
No, it's talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. That's
Yeah.
what they're known for. That's where
because,
they're going.
I mean, if you think of the name Sodom, what is Sodom?
Sodomites, that's
Sodomy.
where it comes
Yeah.
from, yeah. because the men were very fond of diddling each other. But so anyway, right, wrong, or indifferent, the Lord seemed to think it was wrong, so he sent 2 of his baddies down there to throw down. So,
But here in before we get to Sodom, this is what I was talking about earlier when they said.
well, that's Sodom's at the beginning, right here, and then it's sorry.
Okay.
That's this. So anyway, he sends them down there. He's talking to them, and they're telling him they're fixing to go down there and wipe out. And then when you get down to verse 9, they ask, the angel says, hey, where is Sarah? And he's like, she's in the tent, but she was actually standing at the tent door where she could hear the conversation, like a nosy wife.
Like all wives.
Yeah. And then he says, I'm going to return unto thee according in the time of thy life. And lo, Sarah, thy wife, will have a son. And Sarah heard it in the doorway, and she started laughing. Well, I mean, she's laughing at angels and God who can hear all, see all. And so they just call her straight to the mount. And now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken with age, and it's ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of woman. So it's saying that she's like, I can't have menstrual cycles anymore. My uterus has dried up, so and so, right? So, and we don't get down anymore. So she was like,
I'm with someone else. So I'm not
yeah. That's probably pretty much it.
That I told you.
Yeah. So Sarah laughed when they said that, when the angels and God's the one that said, hey, she's going to have a baby when I come to you. And she laughed. And the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I surety bear a child which am old? And if anything too hard for is there anything too hard for the Lord? And time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, nay, but thou didst laugh. He's like, oh, I heard you. I hear it. These ears are big. I hear it all.
Yeah, because it says she laughed within herself, so she's probably just like.
Yeah, because that's what women do. They be doing that sly laugh. So then she's like, I didn't laugh. And he's like, yeah, you did. So then the men got up and they started heading out, right? So they're like, we're fixing to, huh? Yeah. They're the angels started on their path. God's walking beside them. Well, Abraham gets between God and the angels, and he's like, Lord, what's happening? And the Lord's like, I'm fixing to go down, and I'm going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of their iniquity. Iniquity being their wages of sin, all the things that, and you're led to believe that, he's already given his word. Every man knows what good and bad is. And he said, he's probably sent people down there like Lot. Lot's down there preaching to them and telling them, stop, you've got to stop, you've got to stop. Lot's like right there. And the Lord's like, yeah, we're going to wipe them all out. And so Abraham, fearing for Lot, kind of starts pleading with the Lord about, like, look, what if you find 50 people down there? Would you not destroy the city? And he said, for 50 people, for you, Abraham, if I find them that are righteous, I won't destroy the town. And he says,
haggler.
Yeah. So here's Abraham. Abraham's like, there's not 50 people down there in his mind. And he's like, okay, Lord. So what if 45 people? And he's like, for you, 45 people, if I find them being fair, I will not smite the town. Abraham knowing, no 45. He works it all the way down to 10. Right?
Yeah.
And the Lord's like, yeah, Abraham.
Yeah, okay.
So if there are 10 righteous men, this is Abraham, I'm the Lord. He's like, if there are 10 righteous men, I'm not going to smite them. Get out of my way. I got some smiting to do. And he just turns around and walks up from him. He's like, just move. Yeah, and of course, then Abraham doesn't
find 10
he doesn't follow him. So he just stands there and watches because he can see across the valley where the cities are. And then
angels.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this little section right here, these three little things, but it says, and then came 2 angels to Sodom and at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. So Lot was down there preaching to them. So they did know the word of the Lord. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. So he's like saying, hey, go in my house. The people of Sodom will, tear you from limb to limb. They're evil. I preach to them every day. I know them.
Just come in my
just
house.
please come in my house where I can protect you, at least with doors and walls and and shutters. And the angels are like, I got this. Don't you worry about me. And then he said, he pressed upon them with grievity and saying, please. And then they're like, okay, we'll go in for a little while. So they go in, sit down.
Angels?
Now, if you read the definition of an angel, this thing is like a goat from the waist down, has, 4 heads, 3 going around him, and then a human-like head, 3 sets of wings with eyes all over it. And
unless they can take human
yeah,
form.
and they're like 9 to 12 foot tall. They're not small. You know what I mean? Not by any means. It's not something you would run up on and be like, you want some of this? You want some of this? None of that.
But again, you would think that even seeing that it might scare you. You've never seen them at work, so you're just like, it's like, you're God's people. Let me protect you, and they're like, yeah.
Look, we're sitting here for a mission, and God don't take excuses per se. There's a guy running around down here called Satan on his belly. He didn't do what he was told to do, so let's not go there. I'm doing what God tells me, kind of thing. So anyway, so then they go in the house, get their feet washed, they're eating, drinking, and then all of a sudden the pounding on the door begins.
It makes me think that they must have taken human form or something, because
yeah,
like who'd want to mess with that?
Well, they didn't.
How would they even eat?
The people didn't see them. Somebody went and said someone is at Lot's house, and so they showed up like, who is it? Who came in your house? We heard 2 people came in your house. Send them out. Like they wanted to rape them, rob them. Like, hey, we got visitors into our city. Let's rape and rob them. That's the first thing in mind. Let's diddle them. Let's take their cash.
Let's put the kids in the
We
bed.
don't. Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
All
So
the thing. Let's introduce them to Sodom. No, let's rape them.
yeah, let's take them around and show them the fountain and the butcher shop. These are all nice places. Look, that guy sells glass beads. He makes by hand, and that guy makes sandals. Let's go show them that. They're like, no, let's rape them first. First thing is the rape. Gotta have the rape. How many people are here? 10,000. Yeah, I mean, if there's ever anybody decided to be, but it was more like, oh, look, somebody new is in town. I'm gonna rape him, and if you don't like it, I'm gonna pronoun you to death.
Stop it.
Anyway, so the angels, like Lot's like, you stay here, and Lot goes out his door, shuts it. Now, to me, the angels, knowing their capability here, because I mean, you got to admit, 2 giant cities, and they were giant cities at the time, and God only sent 2 angels. So I mean, they knew their worth and what they could do in battle.
I don't think Lot knows that they're there to destroy it yet either.
Yeah, the only time angels ever appeared on the earth, other than just to talk directly to you, was to destroy. That's it.
But Lot has not seen this, so how would he know? This is the
From
first
the-
time
No,
he's seen angels.
the
at
angels
work.
helped them whenever they were
Oh yeah, true. When they were at
the 5
4
kings. Yeah, 4 kings, the 5. So they know what's going to come, and he's trying to save the people of Sodom. Yeah. So you think Abraham would have run down there and like, find 10 people. They're good people. If you have any friends, they're good. You go to church with, get them. Save everybody. So none of that happened, evidently. And so
Abraham just kind of lied. It was like, I'll find 10 people. Never went down there.
he throws a flip flop. That's as far as I can go. So anyway, all joking aside,
It's like-
so
Here's your foot.
he steps outside the door to save the angels, because he knows if they attack the angels, what's going to happen, right? So he goes out there and it's like, hey, I'm going to take care of this. You guys just stay in here, continue with your eating and and your feet washing. And he goes out and he's like, hey, listen to me, guys.
Leave my friends alone.
These people are not here to be messed with. You do not want this course of action that you currently seek. So let them go. Leave them alone.
I'll even let you have my daughters.
Yeah, I'll give you my 2 virgin daughters that have not known men. You can rape them, which,
Why not?
He's trying to save the lives of everyone. So I guess that's everybody's about rape. So he's like, rape them, not just, hey, talk to me or rape me as the father. No, it's rape them.
Because he doesn't want to get raped.
He's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm hosting these people. I can't be raped.
Yeah, I got to be at the dinner party at 8. So,
Yes, dignity.
so he offers the daughters, and essentially, you know, they're like, no, we want those 2 guys. They're very handsome, all of their heads and their hooves. I like that. I kind of get the best of both worlds, a little zoo and a little human, all in one world. So they kind of, you know, like, now we reject your offer. We don't want your daughters. We don't want you. We'll come back for them later. We'll circle back around.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a whole lot of evil in that. So anyway, the Abraham gets pushed back into his house almost, and the angel reaches out and grabs Abraham and pulls him in, and is like, I appreciate what you just did, but we're fixing to fix this. And they essentially just snapped their fingers, and everybody outside that door went blind. They couldn't even find the door instantly. And Abraham and Lot's like, well, so what am I going to do? What's going to happen? He's like, gather all of your children and anyone that you love or know that is good and righteous, and head out of the city.
Son-in-laws, get your daughters.
Yeah, they're talking run into the mountains. And he's like, well, there's a city closer. And there was one that was that far away, you know, a couple miles. And he said, okay, run to that one. But that's going to be your bare minimum, because we're going to destroy everything around this city, every crop, everything, as if this city never existed, right?
Grabs the lead, pulls it out.
He stomps on a dandelion. DDTs on it. So anyway, he tells them he's going to boogie down and get his people. And he tells his wives, who had just gotten married. I mean, it sounds like they just got married that day to two men.
Yeah, since they were still virgins.
Yeah. And the men laughed them like, no, I'm not leaving.
Yeah,
Sodom.
you're joking.
You're ridiculous. I'm not going. So he's like, all right, kids, we got to go. So they went to bed that night, and the angels woke them up at the crack of dawn and said, go, get out now. And what it sounds like when you read that, it sounds like they grabbed Lot and his family by the hands, and they flew them out or transported them quickly, because they were instantly on the edge of town where they didn't have to run through any obstacles or anything. He put them where they needed to be closest to protection. And then they were gone. And the minute that they let go of Lot and headed back, the Lord started raining brimstone down on Sodom and Gomorrah and wiped it out. Now, here's a fun fact. You can go back and look at National Geographic did a special a few years ago where they found a city, 2 vast cities in the desert that were the distance that they think apart, and that when they unearthed them, there were strikes on the sides of the big stones. And when they tested it, because it was burned out, that it was the chemical makeup of what brimstone would be, the sulfur and stuff. So did it happen? I mean, there's a lot of evidence to prove that something like that did happen. Now they're trying to say, oh, well, you know, they just took that instant and made it a Bible thing, but it was natural disaster. But there are no volcanoes in that area, so take that for what you will. So they burned down the thing, and they had told them, do not look back at the city, do not look back at the valley, because if you do, you'll be punished. Didn't say how, just said you'd be punished. So
Don't look back. Pull back.
Yeah, the fire and brimstone were still raining down all night. And she gets up, she goes outside, and she
That was when they were leaving.
looks. Was it?
Yeah,
I thought it was
right.
the next morning.
No, it's like they overthrew these cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt.
Yeah. So anyway, and there's a couple of places that they have over there that they have fences around that they believe is her. Archaeologists believe might be her because it's a woman's shape. Who knows?
Is it a pillar of salt?
Yes, It's pure salt.
She turned to Himalayan peak salt.
That'd be Pakistan. Anyway, so
Well, they get the Himalayan pink salt, isn't it?
yeah, but that's not where they're at. So anyway,
It's that Abraham got up the next morning and he saw
Yeah.
the burning.
so anyway, so the angels did exactly what they said they were going to do, and so then the women fretting that there'd be no men because all they've ever
Yeah,
really
because-
known are
Well, they were afraid
Sodom and
to
Gomorrah.
go into a city, so Lot just went into a cave.
Yeah.
And so the girls are like, everything's gone. We need to carry on our father's name.
in his
There's no
bloodline.
men.
In his bloodline.
Yeah.
So
So
they slept with him. They got him drunk and slept with him. Twice.
2 nights.
The oldest
night,
one first.
oldest. Yeah.
and like Dad
Next night,
said,
youngest.
like Dad said he's been drunk a lot, but you still remember. So there's no
Now-
way Lot didn't know. He's like, oh God, I didn't know. I promise.
Now, in not in this section, but there's a website that I got a picture from. It's called the Brick Testament, and it's like they put Legos in all the and make the Bible. They made this, and I already picked a picture for the daughters laying with Lot, but when I saw that, I cracked up. It was hilarious, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I will probably be using the Brick
It's not-
Testament in the future because it's just
It's
hilarious.
not YouTube friendly.
No, it was because it's just Legos.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious. I was laughing. I was there for like just looking at the pictures of the Bible. I was just cracking up. But anyways,
Did you get to see a pillar of salt Lego?
I didn't go that far back.
So the first one, the oldest one, had a son called Moab, Moab, and he's the son. He was the father of all Moabites, and the youngest son was called Ben Amini, and he is the father of the children of Ammon.
Who comes up with these names?
Well, the names actually have a meaning, showing that they knew what they did was wrong, and I would have to look it up because
Incest baby 1, incest baby 2.
pretty much it was like hand me my
Yeah, but I mean, I would want to be named incest baby. Like, it's not technically the kid's fault; it's the daughter's fault.
well, it's not
And-
incest baby, but it's like just do the
Racist. They raped the man.
I don't know, like that. I mean, unless they got him so drunk he passed out. But
The land beyond Jordan,
Something just-
the poverty flats.
what's the first one's name?
man, like, wait, oh, hold on.
Benjamin.
M-O.
Benjamin means son of my people. Section Sodomore, the daughters of Lot, the child carried up. And Ammon, with his half brother,
Moab.
Moab being conceived and born. So,
He has screen share on or something.
No, he's just on there. And Moab means from the father. So it's like they were kind of like, from my father is Moab, and son of my people is the other. So it's like, yeah it's like,
You really, I mean, what you did was wrong, but what the kids did, they're just born. And they're cursed with that name forever.
yeah.
so here's Abraham's. Would you get me a drink? So this is where
Okay.
Abraham.
Okay.
This is where Abraham does his grift part 2, where he, has his wife go out into the land as his sister, and I guess she's still beautiful at that age, and they took her because at this point she's got to be 99, 100. So God came to, and Abraham journeyed from thence towards the south country and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned to Gerhar. And Abraham said to Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerhar, sent and took Sarah. I don't even know how, like, God had already warned him and said,
Well,
don't do it.
I think I know what it is because it's like, no, he was talking about whatever her previous name was.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is a.
Not sorry.
Hold on, wait. I've got a stone carving of her. We were all told. This is a little worn, but I'm thinking it's like this might be her Abraham. Oh, no, that was Abram. I'm Abraham.
Oh.
I'm like, okay.
Well,
If I get
you.
smoted, it's on like Donkey Kong. And it said, but God came to Abimelech in his dream.
Abimelech.
Abimelech
You take the rat. Oh yeah.
in his dream, and told him about that. Behold, thou art a dead man. I mean, to have the Lord tell you in your dreams that you dead, that's got to be bad. For the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and had said, "Stop, you crazy!" Oh,
The water drooler, when it doesn't know how to drink water, just drool all over your Bible.
Lexi, back up.
and but Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation?" Said he not unto me, she is my sister. And she even herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And the Lord said unto him in a dream, yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live, and thou shalt restore her not. And if thou restorest her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all thine. So he's like, you don't give her back, I'm gonna kill everybody you done ever met. Like, that's a heavy sin. Like some goat herder just in a pasture, slave, had nothing to do with anything. He falls over dead.
And it's
His
like,
goats run just like.
well, and it's like, and it says at the end, it's like he had already like just to prove a point, made all the women barren.
Yeah.
Like just to prove a point, just in case you don't give her back.
What's a baron?
Can't have children.
Yeah, every woman. So,
Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham, and he said unto him, why hast thou done this to me? Like, why?
What I do?
Like the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Like the Pharaoh.
Yeah, Pharaoh part 2.
Like he's just minding his own business, and she's like, oh yeah, this is my brother. I want to be your wife. He's like, oh, okay, this is a pretty
cool.
good day.
Yeah.
And then he gets threatened by God. You're dead, man. What? What'd I do? And then he's like, oh, by the way, I know that I said I was gonna kill you, but since technically you didn't know, I'm not gonna kill you. But you're pretty much extinct because all your women can't have children.
Yeah. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said, why hast thou done this to us? And why have I offended thee, that thou hast brought me on into my kingdom of the great sin, and thou hast done these deeds unto me that ought not have been done? And Abimelech said unto Abraham, what sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. So like, God's already told him, I got you. I'm going to protect you. So he's basically saying, I don't believe you. These people still kill me, and you're not protecting me. So Abraham was kind of a dick. Let's be honest. God should have done a little smoting on Abraham, like took a finger or a toe or something.
Like,
rock hit him in the elbow and make his arm not good, or
get a slash every
get
now and then.
bunions on his foot. Something. Have an angel come down with a whip and whip him some. I don't know.
I mean,
like how dare you not trust me? I told you I got you.
I mean, like, out of all the people he could have made a prophet, he gets the one guy,
the grifter,
who's married to his half sister. Why?
Yeah. And Abraham said, he didn't know the place. And then he said, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is thy kindness that thou shalt sow upon me. And every place whither we shall come, say of me, he is my brother.
Yeah. So he's like, the king's like, why'd you do this to me? He's like, technically, I didn't lie. She is my sister.
She's just my sister wife. I'm from West Virginia. She's my sister wife. Alabama's like, oh, don't you take our rights. I'm kidding. From Texas.
Arkansas's jumping in there.
And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and men servants and women servants and gave them to Sarah. Does that sound familiar? That's exactly
Yeah.
what the Pharaoh's like. He walks in with a list of demands, like, if you want this curse over, I need me some women servants and men servants. I need me some oxen. I need me some sheepins.
He's like, also, by the way, I didn't see your dad.
Yeah.
Get trolled.
And Abimelech said, behold, my land is before thee, dwell there where it pleaseth thee. So,
give me some gold and silver.
yeah, so he got it. And then the Lord, and so Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maid servants, and they all bare children. So then God was like, all right, you stuck in there. I'm going to bless your wombs of your women, and you're going to be a mighty nation. And he said, for the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife.
Yeah, closed up their wombs because of her. And he's like, all right, I'll open back up and you're going to have plenty of children.
She's so jealous. Like,
so in 21, that's where we get to see that Isaac is born of Sarah. And then the Lord decides to test in 22. So 21 is pretty simple. It's just where Isaac is born, and Abimelech has a covenant, really, or an agreement with Abraham that all of this land that Abraham can be on is essentially his and his people's, and no one's going to mess with them. For like Abimelech's like, we'll protect you, kind of thing.
I would like to point out on 21:7 said, who would have, and she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck, proving that, I mean, children suck. It says in the Bible, no, saying that you're supposed to breastfeed. Yes, yeah. You're supposed to give them.
You're not chest
life.
Feeders.
Not.
You're not human breeders. You're a woman who has the greatest gift that God can bestow on any creature, and that's to produce a life.
You get monetized.
Yes. So anyway, that's where he said this in the Bible, where it says that women are supposed to breastfeed. And I know not all women can, but, but that's generally that's a very small portion, but that's where it says that. So that's 20 Genesis 21, verse 7. So, and anyway, it goes down and it talks about,
verse 9.
Sarah saw her son of Hagar, Egyptian, where she was born unto Abraham, mocking. So I think Hagar was just kind of walking through the camp, and
Sarah's like, I'm a baby now. You need to leave.
Well, no, they're saying that Hagar was mocking Abraham's wife, and that's probably not the case. Being as adults now, we know how women overreact sometimes. Not all times, but 99.9999 infinity times. So she cast her out again, and so she went out there and he's like, yeah, I don't run into the forest
here. I have my own bloodline.
The first
now.
Game of Thrones began.
I never liked you here. Get out, you trollop. She's like, but you told me to.
Yeah.
So she leaves.
Like, she's so jealous.
And Abraham's like, all right, you gotta go. Let's keep peace in the household. Go ahead and leave. I know.
And why is Abraham just such a pushover? He's like, lets his wife just treat the servant like just
dirt,
awful,
like dirt. Yeah.
And then he's like, even though she told you to, and you're being a good servant, you need to leave.
You need to leave. Here's some water.
It's like he's just such a pushover.
Yeah. So
it's the power women have.
Yeah. So he kicks her out. She runs out quite a distance.
Runs out of water.
Runs out of water. They only give her one bottle of water. Abraham.
Yeah.
Only one bottle of water. Like, I'm telling you, he's a dick. Gives her only one bottle of water for her and the child. And so she just sets the child down under a bush where he can at least have some shade and cry itself to death. And she goes about 70 feet from him and sits down and covers her ears because she can't stand the crying anymore. And again, an angel of Lord appears and says, hey, you're a righteous woman. You've done nothing wrong. Here's a well. Look to your right. And they created her a well of water. And in that well of water, she was able to refill her bottles and
save her son. And they roamed the wilderness and became basically Bedouins. They just roamed in the desert, the wilderness, which was the wilderness. And her he grew
son
up in
became
the forest,
a hunter,
in the woods.
An expert archer. So that's kind of the long and the short of Hagar and Ishmael. And
No
As of
wonder
now.
no wonder his fists are against everyone. Everyone is against him.
Yeah, he's like,
Well,
my
it was-
daddy didn't love me.
Daddy don't love your children. You see what happens? One day they'll put bombs on themselves and start running around blowing up things. Blow you need bomb? I need bomb. Bum bum bum. I'm just making jokes. Anyway, so God then comes down. He's like, you know what? It's been a long time, Abraham, and you've kind of acted like a dick a few times. So I'm going to test you. I'm going to have you kill your son.
And he's like, okay.
And he's like, didn't like that kid anyway.
You
Let's
had
go. Two of my best man servants. Put some thatching or some, some wood
Let's get on this ass and ride out.
right out.
You had
And God said, I'll reveal to you the place. And Abraham rode till he saw what appeared to him to be the
Abraham
place.
lied to his son. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, don't worry, there's gonna be
Yeah,
a ram up there."
Yeah, it was like these. Tell the man
And he
servants.
turns
to-
his head sideways and look. Abraham's like, and he looked back at him.
tells the man servants to stay here. He's like, here, son, carry this.
Yeah, he made the kid carry his own kindling.
He's like, but Papa, why
Where's
am I
the-
carrying all
Where's
of
the
this?
goat?
Yeah, I have the wood. You have the knife. Where's the goat? I don't
He's
worry
like-
about it.
He's like, where's the goat? Abraham's like, he's right here, greatest of all time.
He's like,
And he starts
he's like,
pistol
"Ah!"
fingers out and across the valley, and everybody's looking. The goat herder's looking like, what is Abraham? Is he crazy? So anyway, like, no, he's gonna burn that kid. You watch him. He burns everything. He's always sacrificing something and chanting. Don't go near him. He might throw you on the fire. So anyway, he takes Abraham. He takes his kid, Isaac, and he sets him on the altar and binds him to the altar on top of the wood.
Papa, why am I being binded?
Yeah. And he's like, well, God said he didn't have any goats. I don't know what to say. You got to go. But I'm the only kid you have. He's like, I know.
I'm gonna go find Ishmael again.
And he turns around and
As he's getting ready,
no, as he was coming down on his
Yeah.
blow, the angels yelled, hold.
Abraham,
Let's see.
We were just trolling. We were just trolling.
Abraham, whoa, wow, yeah, you took it, man. We were joking. Stop.
This is a goof.
It's a goof.
Flash, bro.
And he's
And
like,
okay,
oh.
so
my bad.
And
And
his
they're like,
sons-
look over there. There's a goat. We gave you a goat.
And his sons over there, like, got daddy issues forever.
he's like always jumpy and like when he eats, he looks. He's
Comes in to
feral.
say goodnight. He's like, goodnight. Isaac.
I want my own tent. I want my own tent.
He's like, "Good night, I love you." Yeah, good night.
He has his own
Why
tent.
doesn't he ever
Abraham's
say
going there,
that?
give him food, gets out his hair, pulls him in.
Good morning, Isaac. Bad morning.
The first emo kid born is created. And
Rightfully
trusting
so.
of his parents.
Rightfully so.
Okay, it said, and then they came to the place where God had told him of, and Abraham built the altar there, laid the wood in order, bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called upon him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am.
What's up?
Did I yell my name? And he said, lay not thine hand upon thy lad. The lad's like, that's me. Don't put your hand on me. Neither do thou anything good thing unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God. See, thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went, took the ram, offered him up a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh. And it said unto this day, it is the mount of the Lord, and then it shall be seen. And that means,
Say the word again. What is it?
yeah, it's that one.
It means God will provide, or
Yeah, Jehovah Jireh.
means that
Let me look at that.
it was the picture that I put up
Like he grabs the goat.
because I thought it meant that was the name of the mountain. So I'm like
My
looking
provider.
at
Mom, how do you hear your tablet already?
his dad is doing it.
The ram's
What
like,
is it?
whew, oh, almost got sacrificed today, boys. And then all of a sudden, a freaking bunch of thistle comes down on him. He's like, where'd this
The
come
Lord will
from?
provide.
Yeah, the Lord will provide.
I'm glad
Yeah, so I thought it was when
Country road.
Terry read it, Jehovah Jireh,
Just
whatever.
continue.
However it said, I thought it was like made it sound like that was the name of the mountain that he named that place. And so I'm looking for a picture of a mountain. I'm like looking for maps. I'm like, what is this? And it just kept on popping up. The Lord will provide. The Lord will provide. And I'm like, oh, and then I actually realized, like, oh, that's what that means.
So anyway, it came to be that Abraham was blessed again, and then they were told that for him doing that and proving his worth to the Lord again, that he would, be his seed would be blessed exceedingly. I mean, it's kind of the same promise. I don't know how that was a benefit, but it was, I guess. And so,
So yeah, your seed
it's
promise.
called the word Machpelah, which is where he goes then next to the king, and to his Sarah dies, so he wants a place to bury her, and people are trying to give him places because he's a holy man, and they all know he walks with God, but in the definition of walking with God back then meant that you followed God's law. So they were all going to give him places and bury her and thing, and so they decided a cave.
Now, quick question, because the way that it read, it was like, I mean, did they used to burn their dead, or did they? It seems like this was
They
kind of
had
like
3 different ways: they burn, bury, or put them in a cave.
okay, because it
Mausoleum.
seemed like this was like the first time that they did this. Is how I took it. And I could be wrong, but that's just kind of how I took it. It was like this is like the first mausoleum. Like this is the first time that they put them in a cave, or this is the first time because there was like people offering up field like this, like here's a field with a cave, and he's like, well, I'm gonna put her in the cave. But it seems like this was the first time that this has been done like that, and it's like, kind of the birth of the cemetery / mausoleum.
Also, what happened to the servant lady?
Hagar, it's done with her. So she
She's
went into
The
the
just-
story's done. She's
Is she dead?
no, she lived in the wilderness with,
Her son.
Isaac.
but that's where the story stopped on that.
I
So
was just saying, I want to know what happened to Isaac.
Well, the word
That's-
Machpelah means doubled or multiplied, and then Merit, the place where it's at, means cave. So it's a multiplied cave, which I guess means it could have many areas for bodies to be buried. So he goes to the king, and they're like, I'll give you this land. And they try to give it to him, and he was like, no, you're not giving me anything. I'm going to buy it. So he gives him 500 shekels of silver.
whatever it was worth. Yeah.
And because he's a pretty wealthy guy, and
Stole a lot from the Pharaoh.
he was a grift, got him wealthy. So he got all of his money that he needed, and he got all of his money that he needed, and gave it to this guy, this king, which his name was
Wasn't Abimelech? No, it wasn't Abimelech.
no, it was Ephron. Is it? No, Ephron's the place. Hold on just a second. It was the king of thing anyway. So I didn't write him down. The children of Heath stood up. Let's see.
Look on.
We need to know. You could be looking in yours and helping us.
Those are
The sons of Heth.
Okay, so Ephron, the Hittite, answered Abraham's plea, and he's the one that owned that land, and he owned the cave, and so that's what Abraham wanted, was the cave, but he ended up giving him the land too. So he went around and he kind of got cave and lands from everybody. But he buried her, and that was like the first ritualistic burial that it
Funeral.
describes in the Bible that I've seen so far. So I think that's where we're not at. What are we at? 22.
Into 23.
So that's the end of it, where he buries her and he grieves, and which I guess he could have continued to take wives, but he didn't. And it seems like he did love Sarah, and
As crazy as she
mourned.
was.
He mourned.
yeah,
They were together for 100 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Crazy woman.
Gotta tell her shit. 100 years of getting beef, getting pills.
So anyway,
Be a lot longer.
that's where we're at now. We're fixing to move into some other territory. We've got to make a couple of. We're going to make four
Still have a
or
journey,
5 videos. Yeah.
journey of Abraham going. So, like I said a while ago, the story of Abraham is long.
Well, I mean, he's the
We're still not done with the story, Abraham.
he's the
Mhm.
foundation. He's the block for
See, we
which
come back to Isaac.
all the other are built upon is him. So, it's interesting to hear all the finagling and what we realize is a grift now. It's still it's what was planned, and it
But-
had its reasons for being planned like that.
But it just proves that you don't have to be perfect to.
Be a man of God.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
know God
Stop
knows
listening to these preachers that tell you they're perfect and
that you're going to hell for every little thing.
Yeah,
God
that-
knows we're not perfect.
that
Taking
they're
stuff on
they're
holiness.
better than you, and that you
You-
need to aspire to be them. You only need to aspire to be the best you can be, and you only need to aspire to be close to God. That's the only aspirations you need. Everything else will fall in line. You don't need to be Jesus, because there was only one. There's a reason for that. If you're Muslim, you don't need to be Muhammad. You don't need to be. We'll get into the other imams that matter into there afterwards, his brothers, and you don't need to be, the
You
Pope.
can't be.
Yeah, you just need to be good. Just go out every day and
Can't
live
be
by
who
these
you're
two
not.
principles. Don't do dumb shit and be good to people. That's it. If you do those two things, you're going to be generally thought of as a good person, and you'll be able to get up and shave or brush your teeth and look in the mirror at that person
As
on
long
the
as you
other
don't
side.
and you can't deny him. Can't.
Yeah. Just I mean, people say it's a psychosis, but when people visit, there was a percentage, and I read this in when I was doing psychology. I read this in a report that there's an actual, and I can't remember what it's called, but there's an actual disease that we've classified as disease. But when people go to the Wailing Wall that are Western, I guess it's from all over the world, but when they go to the Wailing Wall and touch the areas where Jesus had touched and walk the paths that he walked, where his sandals actually touched in his sweat and his blood, they kind of become imbued into God. I mean, a lot of them stay and become street preachers. They go around the world and become street preachers. They have visions. But it changes their lives all the way around. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know, what causes that, but it is such a thing that it's on the Israeli security forces. They watch for it, because somebody gets radicalized or whatever. But on the whole, there's something to it. So, I mean, even when I was an atheist, and I was an atheist for 12 years, I was not mad at God. I mean, I wasn't mad at the people who believed in God. I was mad at my anger was at God, and because I was, beaten and raped as a child. I had the horrible shit that could happen to someone happen to me, and starved. Yeah, been there. So I was mad at God. I'm like, why would you let that happen to a child? But then later, when I went through combat, I didn't have the issues that a lot of guys did in that, in that instance, and I have a more level head when it comes into dangerous situations and or dealing with people and helping them. I'm pretty good at picking out people that I think are using me or that are not good people. And I'm also able to pick out people that are good people that don't seem like they're good and kind of foster that goodness in them. So, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say it, sometimes just having two people speaking about what they think that it means to them is enough to create a church. And it's not one you have to pass a gold plate around in. It's not one that you have to get on your knees and do some ritualistic, edifice to. It's the Bible. It's the Bible letting us know. But it just simply is a communing of people trying to find an answer. And in that, I think that in this process that we're doing, that everyone can become, I think, closer with who they want to be as a good person. And there's some answers in here, and they may not be ones that I understand for you, and you may not understand for me. I'm not telling you to grab a Bible and run out in the woods and start preaching to bear. But if this helps you and calms you and gives you a calmer mind, then it's a good thing. If it helps you understand things that you never understood about the Bible, that's a good thing. Our children are involved. We homeschool. We would advise that you have your children involved just so that they can ask questions. And you can go over here to your, should be my right, your right too. I don't know if YouTube flips it around, but anyway, to the comments, send your messages. Even if they're not live, add them to there later, and I will answer them on the next live. And I'll also answer them in the bottom down here. So we would greatly appreciate you guys coming on board and giving us your take.
Give us criticism too.
Absolutely. If you don't want my son to talk anymore, we'll take that under advice.
We'll do personal.
If you don't want that one to talk, especially.
Oh, don't be like that.
And if you find something in here that really you want us to drill down on and say, hey, that section I didn't understand it, but I would like to know more about it. We'll definitely do that.
Yes, and this live stream, I see people coming in and out of it while we're talking. Please, interact with us, comment, give us an opinion.
I was reiterating what we said.
Oh, dude, I was outside trying to get this.
No, dude, go ahead.
Okay, it was already said. I'll stop.
I'm messing with you.
No, go ahead.
I didn't know y'all had already said it. So yeah, I wasn't in the room.
This is not Dr. Pepper cream. We're not advertising it.
Yeah, we're not advertising.
But it is delicious.
It is so dish.
Anyways, I was chasing. I think Socks is the one that set it off because he was sitting right by the truck. Our cat just looking at me like, what?
My truck horn just goes off every once in a while. It's a hillbilly ghost. Anyway, we're gonna cut this stream short. There's no need for it to be 3 hours of us looking at each other. Probably gonna shut the time down and we'll just have it fluid to whatever is our time. Yeah. So anyway, we greatly appreciate you guys coming, and the ones that did. And if you watch it after the fact, we're happy with your participation.
Thank you.
Spread the word. Let Jesus not Jesus.
Spread that word.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great day. God bless. I love you, Jesus, not Jesus. Check us out on all social media. Hope to see you next time.
Love you.